Welcome. This is episode 1, officially, of Tea and Stuff. If there weren't enough podcasts out there for every stupid thing with people shouting their opinions about everything, what else could there possibly be another podcast for? And I thought, well, I like tea, and I like stuff that is like has to do with tea and like revolves around tea and like stuff that tea affects. And I was like, that would be fun. And I have so many friends, both near and far, that do just super cool stuff with tea, without tea, involving tea, and everything in between. So a bunch of people were like, yeah, podcast would be fun. And then you entertain it more, and I have had a background in photo and video work, so I had a lot of the equipment already accessible to me and knowledge of how to put it together. So it was a quick crash course on how to throw together everything at once to do a podcast. But yeah, so here we are. So I'm Jeff. I'm the beans of Unity, and this is my buddy Chris. Who helps out
Aloha.
with stuff a lot, and then also kind of, does his own thing. I mean, if I have to label him, he's like a green thumb, definitely like kind of herbalist. He has a huge property where he has just all sorts of things planted. He has a very large, successful CBD garden that I'm sure we'll visit in some episode. But above all that, he's a very kind person, a very easy person to get along with, and a person that has a very weirdly similar but in different way, kind of upbringing, an affinity for tea.
An elderly lady once said, she's a great, beautiful lady, she said, I am a Renaissance man, and I liked that. That was a good label.
The lady called herself? I mean,
no,
okay.
She described me as a Renaissance man.
I thought she was describing herself as a Renaissance man, and I was like, okay.
I don't judge.
So we're sipping. This is a Wee Oolong blend. It's just a super sippable tea that I thought would be good for us to sort of enjoy along with this, because, like I said, it is about tea and stuff. So I'll sort of we can kind of brush over our histories with tea and then kind of go from there. But so mine is pretty straightforward. Mother had bad headaches as a kid. She'd always, when she's not feeling well, she always enjoyed a cup of Earl Grey, made her feel a little better. So she'd always, I'd ask her if I could do anything for her, and she'd always ask for a cup of tea. So I'd always make her this tea, and I always associated it with my mom and a bit with well-being. And then it just became to the point where I would be making it for her, and I'd be like standing over the cup, like just inhaling all the fumes, like the bergamot oil and black tea fumes just coming up, and just getting like this. I always joke around, but also kind of serious, that it was my first like experience of intoxication. And from there, tea was kind of all along the way. And then once I decided to retire my party hat, I delved into tea farther and learned about all the varieties of it, and then learned about loose leaf tea, and then about gong fu, and eventually just formed a whole bunch of relationships with producers, and ended up starting Unity. And now I do education and sales and promotion of tea, and specifically of like gong fu, more traditional type tea. And so that's kind of my whole spiel in a nutshell. How does your kind of story blossom?
So definitely started with my mother. I noticed tea always brings people together. Chamomile was my first warmed beverage for nighttime, and but I associated with tea
I was gonna say thank you for warm beverage.
Yeah, until
much
I later,
appreciated.
Learned that the difference between a tisane and a tea. But yeah, I just then I moved close to Chinatown and started really learning a lot more about tea and Kung Fu Cha.
What Chinatown?
It was in Honolulu.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
So Hawaii. So tea went well with meditation and surfing. So like that's where I really got deep into the actual like tea leaf. But yeah, and then for a long time I thought I was like the only white dude that liked tea. so here we are.
We laugh a lot because when we upon our meeting and like finding each other, like we had this almost the same negative view of each other. Not like negative view of each other, but like so Chris again, he said that he learned a lot about tea in Hawaii and then like started just learning through experiencing himself about more traditional tea, which wasn't very mainstream back then, nor necessarily is it now, but that when he heard about, you should go check out, there's this guy that does tea events in downtown Syracuse, and he sort of had the like, rolled his eyes, kind of like okay, here we go. Let's hear about Earl Grey and about the mighty difference between green and black tea. And he was very delightfully surprised that it really was like good traditional tea served traditionally, and it was just this open forum to just talk about the tea and do Q&A and stuff like that. But so then the funny flip side to that is, as that was going on, I am sitting there observing it from my point of view, and I'm like, clearly like, is this guy screwing with me? Like,
I was so enthusiastic.
He was so enthusiastic
being sarcastic.
It really started to kind of come off as being sarcastic. So, so one time in the car when we were leaving our weekly tea event, I just turned to my wife and I was like, do you think that guy is like for real? Do you think he's like really into tea, or do you think he's just fucking with me? And she kind of gave it clearly she hadn't even thought of it before. And she was just like, no, she was like, I kind of think he was like genuinely into it. And I was like, all right, cool. So then I kind of let my guard down a little bit, and he came more and more, learned more and more about tea. I learned more and more about him. We learned more and more about each other, and then him and I became really close friends, and he's just learned a lot about tea with me and since meeting me. So now we just really, really enjoy drinking tea together. Just sort of drinking tea. Like before we had ever thought about a podcast or anything like that, we would just hang out and talk. Like,
Yeah.
You would just come over, we would just start drinking tea, and we would just be like, topical stuff, but not like forced topical. It was just sort of like what was going on at the time, or like, what do you think of that? And it always just was good conversation. Like, I valued it, and I know you valued it.
Definitely.
But, like, we've had friends, obviously, be around when we've had these, like, conversations, and they're like, you guys are, like, really entertaining to listen to.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
many people.
They're just like...
Do a podcast.
So once we were like, what do you think? People were like, yes. Like, that's definitely a good idea. So, again, it's just sort of like a thing that I'm excited about, and it evolved just like the tea business. It evolved just out of like things happening and deciding that it was a good move and just trying it out.
It's a lovely move.
But we have we got lots of really good plans. We got there'll be lots of what do you call it? Zoom ones where we'll bring in people from all over, which will be really exciting. People that don't ever come out this way, so it's really, really neat to just be able to sit down with them and sit down with them and really share a conversation and have that documented is really cool. But also, there are people locally that do all sorts of interesting things.
Yeah, we have a ton of cool friends.
We have a ton of cool friends that do really, really cool stuff, and just tons of people that do interesting stuff locally. So there'll be a lot of in-person as well as hopefully eventually traveling, just being able to do this sort of on the go, like run and gun type. That was kind of how when I had a video business, that's how it was. It was just like kind of pick up and go.
Guerrilla style.
Guerrilla style, yes, as they call it. So lots of really exciting things already like in the works, even like this week. Podcasts, Zoom ones we're recording. So yeah, it's something we're not gonna not take seriously, but we're not gonna take so seriously that it blows our heads up and everything like that. It's just sort of like a really fun way to also for me to do an evolution of the Instagram lives. Like the Instagram lives served me very well and were very enjoyable for me to do. But with how the apps changed over time and the ways features they're choosing to highlight kind of have proven to work against. I don't feel like the algorithm isn't really in my favor.
Right. Yeah.
So I was like kind of like frustrated over that because I really enjoy doing them, and it was just like, how do I like what's the next? There's got to be another like step to what I was doing instead of just like burying it and just being like, well, it's over. And that's again same time where it was just sort of the idea of not even necessarily a podcast, but just more videos of just covering different topics and talking about different things and. Again, that's kind of funny where the name comes up is just tea and stuff because that's literally what I want it to be. That's the goal is just to be tea and tea correlated stuff. But even since Chris and I started hanging out, I mean, just you and I have been on a bunch of tea adventures.
Oh yeah, definitely. And plus, it's difficult to get me out of the forest, so you finally got me out here.
So yeah, why don't you explain a little bit more about you? Because I'm sure a lot of people know or more familiar with who I am. Like, why don't you kind of give some of your backstory?
So I am very much into food as medicine, and also not trying to like force too much stuff. I enjoy learning what our ancestors did. So I come at tea or any plant with an openness to discuss maybe the spirit or the energy the plant brings. And we're just kind of like two sides of the same coin, Jeff and I. So it's really cool because sometimes we have some different dynamics and views, but they're all very much necessary and important.
Oh, for sure. Like that's a huge part of our relationship. It's like it's one thing to be friends and to like agree on every single thing and have every single like same growing up, like grew up on the same street, same grade, all that stuff. But like we have tons and tons of differences.
Yeah,
like
a lot of contrasts that make a beautiful like harmonious relationship.
And even like when we like really like our views are opposite of each other, we still remain very like that's another reason why people would be like it'd be nice to see a podcast with you too, because they know that there's possibility of topics arising that like have no intention of getting into it, but like right off the bat, like vaccination, like fucking huge, everybody's up in arms about it. People are biting off each other's heads and ruining friendships and families over who did and who didn't. And I, for my own reasons, I've been very clear about this. I decided to get the vaccine, and that was very strictly just based upon what I thought and upon my doctors that I trusted talked about what I thought the best course for me was. And I decided, for me, that I was like, I'm gonna roll the dice. So I'll go ahead and I'll get the J&J shot in the arm. but I know Chris has a completely different health background.
I think we're both pro discernment and pro freedom.
Yeah.
So, and that's
sure.
like the important thing, freedom of choice. And, we all have a mind, and we respect that each other's ability to use that mind.
Yeah, and it's not even just mind. It's just like, and like, I was not shocked, but you were like, whenever it came up that you're like, yeah, no, my decision is to not get it. I asked you why, and you very calmly, very respectfully said X, Y, and Z. Yeah. And I went, okay. Like, at that point, it didn't matter what I did or what Of
course not.
If I put myself in your shoes and I'm as you making a decision, I looked at it and I went, oh no, like this, I can't necessarily say that I would, but I would definitely go, oh yeah, I got to think more about that.
Yeah.
Like I can't just jump to oh, okay, I'll just do it or I won't do it but like it's wild for me to see that like friends are actually like literally like tearing apart and like people are like not left and right. It's not like Armageddon, but it is wild to hear that like people that have been friends for a while have literally been like, nah, man, that's it. Like you're just too much of a dummy. And in either way, it's like you can firmly disagree with it. Like it's totally, but like I don't get that reaction at all. Just the shut off and.
Yeah. I'm always like pro inclusiveness. Like
and
if we want a world in the future,
the most important thing is that your decision is in no way, like it's not because you want to harm people or because
it's not
you don't
ridiculous
care
at all.
or you want people to die. Like, oh my gosh, that could not be more completely inaccurate. And and again, for me, that's the main difference. Is like, well, what's the plan?
Yeah,
and it's like. Oh, well, I'm not. The plan is that I worry about my body under these conditions, and I go, oh,
yeah,
okay, like I get it. So it's so wild.
This tea has just an amazing fragrance.
Oh, that's why I picked it, and I picked it because it's a good sipper. Like it's a really good sort of like mull it over tea. Just sort of kind of like sit, drink it. Talk a little bit.
It makes my eyes smile when I smell it.
It's the perfect amount of roastiness, roasty and chocolatey. That's what I love about Wu Yi. That's a great production area. And I like this tea because it's not like one specific cultivar, like it's a blend of different ones. Nice. So it really gives you like a flavor profile of Wu Yi. Which I like. I'm a fan of them singular as well, but I'll say that like I have a very large stock of this, and I drink it all the time.
Nice,
drink it all the time, and I've given it out to some customers from ones I had bagged up from the music festival that we did this summer, and people have been like, "Hey, do you sell this?" I'm like, "No." They're like, you should really sell this." I'm like, "Yeah, but." Yeah, I guess I should. But then I either forget or just something else happens. So then I do something else and I forget about it. But it always just keeps running around to like, I feel kind of guilty.
Would this be a good grandpa style one? Because I feel like it
you just have to watch the leafage. But as long as you didn't overleaf it, yeah. And you kept refreshing it with some hot
like
water.
bold flavors that are so good. And then I'm nervous if you oversteeped it, it would just be really intense.
I've oversteeped this, and it's not as bad as I thought. Like I was expecting it to be like really, really rough. I think it was like a good like 2 minutes oversteeped, but it was more crunchy, like earthy, crunchy. But...
It's a very earthy tea, so.
Earthy, chocolatey.
Yeah.
Really, really good, though.
Yeah.
What else is going on? I'm super excited. We're going into fall.
Yeah, the leaves
which
are
is
changing.
tea season. Teasin'. That's another, I guess, announcement that we can say right off the bat is that we're going to be us and our ladies are going to be going to a cabin in the woods
Yep, that's how all great horror movies start.
For a couple days, and to unwind. But we're also gonna we'll film stuff while we're there, and we'll put like a video together, like we did the last time that we went when Cassandra and I went to this cabin. But we're going to also shoot a podcast while we're there, just about our time there, and I'm pretty sure that the talk will probably go to nature.
Yeah,
because I remember when we were there last,
that
was that's literally all I could think about, and even like days after going there, that's my brain was just like, it was so quiet, and like there was no light that wasn't made by you or the sun. Like it was just,
love that.
It was such a wonderful, and like I don't live in an super urban area at all. Like I live in like almost the countryish suburbs, but it's so different. Like when you're up in the mountains like that. So that's something
sure it's
that
got a great feel. We should forage. We should like see what's on the property.
It's an interesting road because it's a short road, but like they're somewhat developing at the end of it. You'll see. It's dense trees.
Got ya.
Like shrubbage you'd have to find like on the outskirts of because you're up in the mountains. Like it's like tree.
That's cool. Just knowing what's there. I'm sure I'll find at least like 7 different things.
But we're gonna do some cooking. We're going to go and see an awesome tea business called Extra Specialties that's run with people with special needs, which is A, it's phenomenal, and B, it honestly is phenomenal tea. So I cannot wait to.
I'm really excited.
So I'm excited that I've
excited
experienced all this. Like, so I'm super excited to go back, but we're just as excited to share it with you and Andrea because it's just. We know how much we enjoyed it. We know you guys like have this like similar idea of fun.
Oh yeah,
as us.
Yeah, we're gonna have a great time.
Yeah,
and we got more stuff to podcast, and we'll come up with more stuff. So that'll be amazing.
What else? What other things? So I guess I talk about already. I'm going to be doing. I'm going to be recording one with someone that you've met. This next week, Amy.
Oh, cool! Yeah.
So
my
good friend Amy,
so cool.
Who's up there in Toronto. And I'm sorry, not in Toronto. She's in the She's the neighbor of the North Canada. She's in Hamilton, Hamilton, Ontario. She owns a tea room called the Mystic Tea Room, and it is all based around tasseomancy. And it's not like she like read an article on tasseomancy and then was like, I read tea leaves. Like this woman, like I've never met anyone in my life that is more truly connected to tea leaf reading than her. I've never. So, but at the same time, I don't know a whole lot about tasseomancy. I
know of a little bit, and I'm going to get I made an appointment with a woman to Andrea and I to go get like a kind of a lesson. Yeah. So I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, because it's super interesting, but it's like for me, if I'm gonna experience something like that, it's got to be by someone like her.
Yeah,
like someone
that's
who
so neat.
Really is very legitimate and. It's not anything hobbyist, which there's nothing wrong with doing something as a hobby, but if you're doing it professionally,
I would do it like
and she
hobbyist with friends.
So I've known her for years now. She's one of my main buddies that I go to see when I go to the Toronto Tea Festival each year. She's going to be so much fun to talk to on here because so she's got all that interesting knowledge. B, she is a hoot. I mean, she is a red-haired Canadian firecracker.
Yeah, like, I was definitely looking forward to, like, if the tea festival is going on, that's the person I was going to look for.
So, yeah, I'm super on that front. Every month or so, I poke and prod at the organizers of the festival, and I'm just like, hey... it'd be really phenomenal if you did the Tea Fest this year. And they're like, I know. It's it's doable. It just completely depends. It's one of those things that you can't just go, yeah, it'll happen, and then don't count on possibly things going awry. But
yeah, that's a lot of planning, a lot of logistics. So,
but I honestly, like, just from kind of what I've seen done here in the States with events, I don't know. As long as nothing wild and crazy, there aren't crazy infection rates, people aren't dying left and right. I don't see why you couldn't.
Tea is a pretty health conscious avenue too. So
and they organize it.
People need Tea Fest.
They organize it so well, and I think about it in years prior when there's been no COVID measures, and it was pretty like COVID friendly. Like
I would say so.
I think the adjustments that you'd have to make wouldn't be that dire.
No,
I don't think it would kill the festival. I think you just somehow masks. I don't know, limit the amount of participants. I don't know, but that's their job.
Maybe like a time slotted ticket.
Correct. But that's what I'm saying is that no matter what, I feel like there is a way to do it. It's just like, and then you also have to, from our point of view, it's like, well, why wouldn't you? But it's also a lot of money, and it's a lot of like all these ducks have to be in a row.
We're putting it out there in the ether.
Yeah, exactly.
It's going. We're coming for you, Toronto.
We're coming for you and all of your tea goodies.
Yes.
It's been what?
I think 2 years.
2 years.
I'm pretty sure.
And it's not like a distant memory, but I get that little shock when I'm like, oh my God, it really has been that long. Like Cassandra and I were going at least once a year, and that just got abruptly halted. And I'm super, super excited to return though. Like I cannot, whenever it happens. I think that the borders are open right now. I think there is a way of getting across, because I've seen people that I know that aren't going over there for business over there that I don't think are dual citizens. But this is what, September.
Yeah.
So we're there's a lot to be still happened. I did hear though there's a buddy of mine in Germany was saying that there is this weekend or next weekend maybe Munich is having a tea festival.
Nice.
Yeah,
that might be like
I'm not 100%, but I think that's the first, besides the tea expo. I think that's the first tea thing to go on since Corona. I hadn't even heard of it, and he was just like, "Yeah, I think he was trying to head over to Munich for it." And I was like, "They're doing it?" He's like, "Yeah." I was like, "Phenomenal!" And that really is good news, because, like, again, say it happens and nothing crazy terrible.
Yeah,
happens,
that'll be like a foundation for future ones.
It's motivation, and it'll show the people, in charge that it not only can it be done, but it can be done safely, and then. That's all people are waiting out on right now. People are just like, they just want to make sure if they're going to do something that they're not endangering anyone, which I think is
that's very intelligent.
That's a good measure to take.
Speaking of the lockdowns, is we understand people may be struggling with their mental health, and we plan to do a couple episodes like nature being one of them.
And then things to help people. You can tell them about it.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to be doing breath work, music, just physical exercise, a lot of low impact stuff, and we might even throw some high impact exercise in there. Just stuff to help people's mental health, because that's definitely affecting people.
Hard.
We're all seeking connection, so
hard. And even people like I'll admit that, like, being a person that's had more than my fair share of mental health struggles, I feel like I got through this whole thing like pretty intact.
Yeah.
More intact than I would have expected if you had asked me how you would have thought I would have done. But
I feel like eventually we'll all be like that. We'll be like, damn, we actually, like, okay, we didn't lose our shit completely.
Exactly. I have every now and then I catch little times where I realize like I need to decompress. Like I haven't been, and I'll feel it starting to build up, and I'll start to like kind of be more fight or flight, and then I'll be like, yeah, then it's the sign to like, okay, now you need to do something that's de-stress. So like reading's been a big one for me.
Yeah.
Like when I felt really anxious, I take out one of my tea books, I put on headphones, I put on lo-fi,
Yeah.
and I just read even like a chapter of a normal book, which is just, a couple pages. That's enough to like
Get you out
slow
of
down
the
your
loop.
brain, get your breathing. And that was, thank you. I'm sitting here like, oh, we're going to talk about all this exciting stuff. And it's
Yeah,
like,
yeah. Well, no, it's
but
good,
no,
man.
the mental health is a huge, because tea and mental health is just gigantic.
Yeah.
And it is such a huge utility to use.
Yeah, and that's kind of what really sparked our idea of going through with this. Is like we had that same conversation about tea and mental health, and just
well, like we said, we were
them.
just like it's crazy how many people are completely unaware of basic meditational techniques like mindfulness skills.
Yeah, anything, or just finding your breath. But we're gonna talk about all that. I'm so excited.
Yeah,
We're gonna go crazy, go deep.
Yeah, we were looking. There's just so like we said, we have a lot of friends that work and are professionals in the arts, in athletics, in botany.
Yeah,
Like there's just
everything.
and I feel that I'm a pretty conversational person. That's why I feel my live sessions did well. Is that I really know all these people that do this like kick-ass stuff, and sometimes I'll be talking to someone like you, or even someone on like Instagram.
Oh, yeah.
I'll say, "Oh, hell yeah, I love like this person's account is crazy," and they'll go, "Who?" And I'll go, "Oh, wait, you don't follow so and so? You've never heard of him?" They're like, "No," and I'm like, "Whoa!" Like, so it's like people that I've known forever that are like. I think like every person follows, and every person has heard their philosophies on things like this. But there's so many people that haven't. There's so many people that have no idea. It's not even they don't want to help themselves or help themselves. It's they literally don't know how to.
And we know like such an eclectic group of people from like all over the world. So like with our powers combined, we might be able to get Captain Planet on here.
Yeah, very, very well. It was funny before tea and stuff. We were trying to figure out just what way to go with it, and one of the the project name for all of this, I guess you could call it, was like Chris and Jeff Save the World. So we were just like, well, we want to save the world. In the little ways, though.
And then we got in an argument about whose name should be first. No, I'm just kidding.
But that you brought up. That brings me around to a super good point. Is that the whole idea, like literally, was just that, like just to like spread knowledge and connect people to slower ways of thinking, because like the jerk reaction is to react to things, like things to just happen.
Yeah.
And something like tea is a really good tool at keeping you level-headed, because it reinforces that slowing down aspect, which is obviously something we'll talk about.
You can't spell community without T.
No. There's a lot of things you can't spell without T.
Yeah, right? T puns will just keep coming.
Team. No, there's an R in there.
Well, I'm sure they'll come to us.
So yeah, it's so Chris is like I said, he's a farmer. He's on his land. He's got a giant CBD farm, and it's very wild to find out the botanic similarities between the plants.
Oh, yeah.
And even sometimes, as people and scientists are actually doing studies into, is that how interestingly well, I don't want to say like cannabinoids per se, but like how interesting the tea plant
They're very synergistic.
And so the tea plant has a very specific effect on the human body.
Yes.
The cannabis plant, whether CBD or whatever, has a very specific effect on the human body. But sometimes you can put those two together, and it's like exponentially better. Like I sat through a talk at the Toronto Tea Festival 2 years ago or 3 years ago about cannabis and tea, and they were saying that some scientists I think over there found out some really interesting things about terpenes and how you can have a terpene from say an essential oil and a terpene that's in a certain like strain of cannabis or say is in a certain tea you're drinking. They, by being present at the same time in your body, can actually give you not sort of a high sense, but it's just it can be even better than if you were to do them.
They work very
again.
well.
The science isn't out on exactly what it does and the differences, but it's crazy to see that even like science is like looking at a plant like tea, and they're like something that's thought of to be so mundane by so many people, and they look at it and they go, "Wait, like." There's actually some magic that happens here.
So I got a little bit of like historical evidence, because I don't want to say science. The rishis of India understood different people would meditate with cannabis because they understand that it will intensify whatever effect it has. And then if you think about tea like a oolong, it naturally brings the mind into kind of a meditative state, a more like mindful, slows it down, a more centered like state. So
I see what you're
usually
saying.
when you're using tea, you know, you kind of like have an intention subconsciously.
Yeah.
And the cannabis is going to kind of like help focus, so it funnels it together and flows.
I never thought about it like that. It's interesting though, and there's so many other things. Like that's why, like again, another thing that I hope to talk about eventually would be to talk with somebody who's like a really heavy herbalist, because like I believe that
I got somebody.
I believe that blends. People are always like, "Oh, okay, so blends are garbage, right?" Like it's pretty much just a bunch of crap thrown together, and it's like the marketing stuff. Yeah, it pretty much is crap, but I firmly believe that if you have the knowledge of certain herbs and plants and stuff like that, and you truly take a couple of things and you put them together because you're trying to, you know, there's an intention that you're doing there. I truly think that there is probably, I mean, I know I have definitely tasted in my days blends that are very high quality that you drink and you go, yeah, okay, so that oolong would be good by itself too, but you'd have to also comment that there was something special with that. Like I had a CG Chun oolong that was blended with rosebuds and lemongrass.
Wow,
you
that
tried
sounds
that.
really good.
It was way back in the day, but I'm telling you, it was something else. It was so delicious that yes, I you know my initial craving goes to just the Camellia sinensis, but like that's an example of a blend that I can easily say with, you know, my nerdy of palate, just be like, it was incredible. Like it really was that good.
Yeah, I'd actually, because I study like the energetic properties and spiritual properties, kind of just in mental or emotional properties and then physical properties.
Chris,
But,
that's where Chris again. That's where you're.
Yeah, I'm out here. You're grounded.
Yeah,
Or you like are a good balancer for that.
Yeah,
for me.
yeah. And that would actually be another area where sometimes it's not like we have like I say what you say isn't real, but it's sort of like you look at it and go, well, maybe
Open heart, open mind. Yeah,
but
open heart, open mind.
There's the tip of the iceberg. We just figured like. We were trying to figure out, like, you know, all the directions we wanted the podcast to go and what do we want to do with it and what intention do we have and stuff. And something that was told to me by my friend Don May a long time ago was that sometimes, he's like, sometimes you just have to put it out there. Like, sometimes you don't even know what something is until you put it out and you get the response from it.
Same with screenwriting.
So it's just like and he's right. He was right, and it's just like, okay, let's just get the first one out there. We don't even have to have a specific topic. Like, it's just this is this first one, and then what we hope for it,
stuff is a good topic.
What we have planned. So yeah, so it's just sort of like this. We can I can plan and plan and plan forever, and we have so many others that have like very specific topics to them. But it was like let's just get rolling, because everything else was in place. And it was just sort of like I was sitting nervously, like, but am I ready? Is it ready? Is it ready? And then again, it just his little English his English voice just popped into my head, and it was like, just do it, Jeffrey. And I was like, all right, you said it. So I went for it, and here we are.
Spoken like an artist.
So yeah, so it's there's a lot to be said about what our mission is, and I'm more excited because it'll be cool to see it evolve as it goes.
Yeah, definitely. It's gonna get better.
It won't always be this terrible.
It's not terrible now, but that's good. Reassurance.
Yeah. I should also add, like, I didn't get into Gong Fu until like my mid to late 20s. Like, I was drinking blends, I was drinking tea bags, I was all that stuff.
Same. Actually, that's about the same for me.
Sometimes people sometimes they'll hear me talk, or they'll like look at what I am now, and they'll be like, "Oh, you've probably been drinking these teas since you've been like a baby," and it's like, not at all.
It's just passion, really.
Yeah,
it just naturally comes if you're passionate about it.
My experience, my ability to experience was accelerated by the passion. So, and that's another just great thing, is that tea brings together not only interesting people, but people that are really passionate about whatever the hell it is they do. And sometimes tea people do some weird stuff, but they do it hard.
They do weird stuff passionately. So continue doing weird stuff passionately, Earthlings.
So, all right. Well, I mean, I'm super glad that we just sort of got this introduction out of the way. We have a lot more stuff coming. I'm sure following this one will be one of the Zoom. I'm going to try to do I would like to do a 50-50 of in-person and Zoom, because Zoom is cool because I get to talk to really interesting people that aren't local, but Zoom, there's a magic.
I think having the diversity of both those is going to bring a beautiful experience.
So we'll just going to keep recording, keep rocking, keep piling them away and releasing them. So hopefully it'll be a weekly thing. I haven't picked a day of the week yet or anything like that. So right now, just, subscribe, like, comment, follow me on Instagram, unity.store, follow Chris.
Garlic Guru 85.
And
all that jazz.
Yeah, all that good stuff. So thank you guys again, and until the next time, enjoy your tea and stuff.
Aloha, Ohana. Mahalo.
I don't know what that means.
I don't either.
So, all right, stop there. Make sure.